All right, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Inspiring Stories of Transformation. Apologize for those of you who were in the Facebook event and thought this was starting at a different time than it actually ended up starting. I know Amy and I were a little confused too, but we got it all cleared up and we're here now. Oh, actually, we have an echo. Let's see. Is that coming from your end, Amy?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
I don't go on mine.
Another edition of Inspiring. Maybe that's on my end. Sorry about that. Okay, I think that was my end. All right, we should be good now. So anyway, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this is a show where I love bringing on inspiring guests, entrepreneurs who I've connected with over the years, who are really incredible human beings and really have businesses and interests and passions that really are aligned with just like doing what you want with your life and really just tapping into your own gifts and your own creativity and your own art. And this is actually one of the first times that I think I'm having an actual artist on. Amy is an artist. Amy is a novelist, a writer, an artist, and I love that she incorporates her art into her stories. Very, very unique. I know that sometimes, or usually, it's they hire an author hires an illustrator, but Amy just does it all. So I actually interviewed Amy. I think it was maybe like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, and it was one of the very first Inspiring Stories of Transformation interviews that I did, even before Google Hangouts.
It was a lot of fun. That's all I remember.
Yeah, so much fun. And actually, I think it was shortly after that, or maybe I'm not sure on the time frame, but I was traveling cross country and I ended up visiting Amy for a few days in Atlanta, Georgia.
Did a little surfing.
Yeah, it was awesome. And so it's really good to reconnect with you, Amy. And
thank you.
I'm really excited to have you on. And for those of you who've never been on the show before, we basically have these guests who come on, share their story, share their passions, and share their visions for the future. Because I really think that it's great to have these ideas and these dreams and aspirations and perhaps even pursue a lot of these things. But sometimes we need another perspective and another kind of some support in order to keep moving forward, so that motivation or inspiration, whatever you want to call it, from people who are doing similar things in the world. And so I like these interviews as real as possible, and I love giving you, Amy, the platform. So I'm grateful for you to be here. And,
well, thank you.
You're welcome. So
tapping into our artistry, when you asked me to do this tonight, I started really thinking about what's going to be relevant for some of the people listening in tonight that are creative individuals like I am. And I don't think being creative is just about, I'm an author, I'm an illustrator. I think being creative is taking photographs, the way that you cook or decorate your home. If you love to dance, I think there's so many different expressions of creativity. So I think anyone who enjoys creating in any way will get something from the focus that I want to hone in on tonight is, what do I do to stay energized and inspired? And then even more importantly, what do I do when I hit that kind of creative dip or that slump, I call it, where you almost just feel completely tapped out. It feels like you're running on high voltage, and all of a sudden, all inspiration and all energy is gone. And what do you do in those situations? So I think one of the biggest things to staying in creative alignment, I want to call it, is being open to all forms of creativity. There are days that I literally look at my drafting board and I cringe. It is the last place in the world that I want to go. Maybe I'm working on an illustration that isn't coming out right. And so now the idea of drawing is actually more heavily charged with feeling negative thoughts. And so I'm going to avoid it. You know, when you see yourself avoiding something that you normally usually enjoy, it's time to switch gears creatively. And I think a lot of artists kind of can miss the boat on this one. They'll basically, when they're trying to force themselves to create, I've got to finish this painting, I've got to finish this manuscript or this song that I've started. And it's basically like creative constipation. And you're basically denying yourself connecting with that energetic flow. So I find one of the best ways to keep myself creatively aligned is basically allow myself to kind of slide and glide through my different modes of creation. Maybe the art isn't flowing, so maybe I'm going to, you know, work on my novel, but maybe the novel is even bringing me some problems. So I'm going to write a poem and put it on Facebook, or I'm going to go cook a creative meal, or I'm going to go out dancing with my friends at the nightclub and have a good time. But there's always some sort of creating that's going on. And I find that that really helps to kind of keep the energy going. Because as every artist will tell you, basically, if you hit a creative slump or you're kind of blocking yourself creatively because you're not enjoying something that you're working on, you will literally start avoiding creating. And you'll start getting more and more clogged, more and more constipated. It's like this big wall gets built, and it really does get harder and harder to break it down. So the key really is to kind of give yourself permission to not take your art so seriously. And a lot of artists will say, oh, what do you mean don't take myself seriously? You have to be more playful. You have to be more like a child. You walk into a child's bedroom, do you see just one thing going on in there? One minute they got to play with their Barbie dolls. The next minute they want to paint a painting. The next minute they're outside with the hula hoop or riding their bike. They're constantly flowing with whatever in that moment is their highest excitement. If any of our listeners right now listen to Bashar, that's the one main, I think, principle that I've gotten from listening to his YouTubes is following that highest excitement. That is your higher self, God, divine intelligence speaking to you and saying, this is what you want to do right now. This is what you should do. And then, you know, some basics that a lot of artists might not think about is keeping your vehicle aligned, exercise and proper diet. If you are, I like to go out and have a good time. I like to drink my wine and party and have fun like the next person. But I've learned not at the expense of my creativity. And so I've got to keep my vehicle aligned. And so I need to be able to have those moments. I also have to back it with where I work out Monday through Friday. I eat a whole foods diet. I eat meat, but I don't eat a lot of processed food, and I don't use a lot of condiments and refined sugars and everything. So keeping the vehicle kind of as clear as possible, I think, is another way to stay creatively aligned. And then engaging with other artists, you know, become a part of Facebook groups, get on Twitter, post your stuff, be bold, share your work with people. Don't hide, you know. I'm not saying that you have to want to be the next J.K. Rowling, you know, or the next big, the Picasso that's going to stand out and be famous for the rest of your life. You take that intention off your art, but be willing to share it. Be willing to display it, share it with other people. If you're a cook, cook a big meal for your friends and have them over. You know, if you like to paint somebody a picture, don't ask for money for it. I'm not saying not to do that, but also to creating from the heart is so important. You've got to do it with no ego attached. If you want to make money off of it, you also have to learn how to do it for the pure essence of it. Because you're really never going to make money off of it if the intention or that purity isn't there. Those are the real geniuses that end up making an impact on our society, or the ones that would be doing it anyway. Whether one person reads my novel or millions of people read it, I'd be writing that novel anyway. So I think that one just hits me so hard because I worked through this on my own. I'm not saying not to dream big. I'm not saying I couldn't be the next J.K. Rowling. Sacrilege, I know, to say that live, but who knows what the universe has in store for this book that I've written. But what I've learned is that's not my job to know. It's my job to show up and create. I know that's going to sound really basic for artists, but another way to stay aligned is just keep creating. Just wake up and show up, you know. Use your craft, use the tools that were given to you. You will find if you release your ego and where you think this is going more and more, you'll want to create more. One of the things that will constipate you is when you start attaching a lot of expectations and how this needs to go and how people need to react to it. And it's a big ego bubble that you create around it. And you got to pop that bubble. Just stop it. It ruins the entire point. And what's the conundrum about this, or so ironic, is that the minute you learn to do that, you will find that success. So it's learning to connect with yourself and do it because you'd be doing it anyway. Have that pure intention and just show up. That will keep you creatively aligned. And then allowing yourself, now I'll head into my second part of this topic, which is, what do you do when you just don't want to create? Like, you are tapped out, down for the count, done. It happens. I look at it, it's all about how you live. I have found, like, everything in life is perspective, right, Jordan? Everything is a label. Everything is perspective. So if when you hit a creative slump, my fellow artists, you think, I'm such a loser, I'm a hack, I've been cut off, I got nothing good to say, nobody wants to hear from me anyway, I'm really untalented, why am I not creating? I'm so lazy, I'm so uninspired. That is going to keep promoting the momentum of that vibe, and you are not going to want to create. So it actually perpetuates the slump. Instead, I've started looking at it as it's a mini break. It's a well-deserved vacation. Creating, as beautiful and as fun as it is work. And if we can give ourselves the permission to say, okay, right now, I just want to Netflix Sons of Anarchy.
I saw you post about that on Facebook.
I am shameless when it sucked me into the story. And I know this sounds so funny, but I gave myself permission to do that. And I wasn't on the couch saying, oh, you know, I'm such a loser, I'm not doing this. I'm like, you know what? I just worked really hard on this novel. I submitted it to my first agent. I never heard back. And I hit a little bit of I don't want to say, I hit a fear moment. I hit a moment where I knew I should not work on this anymore because I'm coming from a place of fear and disenchantment. So this is the perfect time to take a creative vacation. See, that has a very different feeling than I'm in a slump. I'm creatively constipated, you know, even though that's what it feels like. It's changing our perspective. It's changing the label. It makes all the difference in the world, I have found, to kind of softening your resistance. So I have this creative vacation, but now I'm vacating a little too long. And the inner voices are starting to kick in. Now you're basically procrastinating. I could feel it happening. And of course, the more I focused on it, the more I was procrastinating. Well, then this conference comes up, the SCBWI Children's Book Conference. Now, I have not been to a conference in 5 years since my last published book came out, Quest for the Elfin Elixir. And I was working on this novel in hiding. And so I basically gave myself permission to do that. I hadn't done anything with my marketing, a website, a blog. None of my social media was networked together. It was all very random. And I kept knowing that this is something I needed to start thinking about as I was going to start pitching this new novel. Well, then this conference comes up. I think the conference is in April. I go to register, and lo and behold, it's 7 days later. So basically, I had 1 week to get a website and promotional materials put together so I could go to this conference feeling put together, you know? And this is what really perpetuated the momentum out of my vacation. It got me excited to work again. It was like, I wasn't working on illustration or the novel. I was working on the promotional stuff, which I love doing. And it gave me such a sense of purpose. The momentum, the conference went beautifully. I've already done a video on that. And it wasn't like I was so focused on getting back into working on the novel or illustration, but here was the web design and the graphic design. It was just another thing for me to slide into, and it completely catapulted me eons above where I was at before creatively. And so there's all this charged, awesome energy for me to feed off now. And I truly appreciate it because I wasn't there a few months ago. So definitely when you hit one of these moments, you know you need a break. The break has come. You've got nothing left. You're tapped out. Be okay with that. Relax. Go out and lay by the pool. Get some sun. You know, go work out. Use your body. That was another thing. I focused a lot on my physical. I got into kickboxing. I joined the UFC gym. And I've switched my workouts, which has been tremendous for me. And I was okay with that too. I was like, this really excites me. And so basically when I got the focus to do the website, everything kind of came together in this very dynamic, propelled me out of that kind of lower feeling or that stagnancy, I want to call it, where you're feeling kind of stagnant. You're not really moving.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jordan.
I have a question about how you prepared. I really like what you're saying, first of all, about the importance of when you hit that creative wall, basically start doing other things instead of like trying to force something. Just like go in a different direction, do new things, or just like play different games in different areas.
It's like you're trying to row upstream in that moment, and you know how that does not work.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So so you were basically preparing for this conference that was coming up, and you kind of like only had a week to do that. So what was your approach, especially based on what you were saying about, you know, how like artists, it's like it's really hard, or most artists who do something for promotional sake, like, you know, they do something because they're just basically trying to make money off of their art, rather than doing it from a creative space and then allowing that creation to basically, you know, that they would have created whether they were paid or not, to be like, you know, what they put out there and what people are attracted to, because people feel that authenticity and that, you know, the creativity.
It has an energy to it, for sure. Everything we create is imbued literally with energy. And so there's no escaping it. That's why if you really have negative intentions about something, there's no hiding from it. It is ingrained in whatever it is that you're doing, and will attract like circumstances to it, for sure.
Yeah.
What was your question?
My question was, how did you approach, like, at least I know from my experience when I've gone to like networking events and events where like essentially the primary purpose of going was to network and meet and to basically talk business with people. How do you insert creativity into that kind of arena?
Okay. So it's interesting that you're asking me this, because I had just absolutely one of the most profound, creative, spiritual experiences at this conference, and I'm really excited about it. And that was what I was, I kind of geared, it's a short little 15-minute video that I put on my blog about releasing expectations. So this is also, you know, artists, listen up, especially those of you that are trying to actually make a living at it, because there is a balance. And I feel like this conference was the first time I was able to apply it. And transformed the experience for me. So in the past, before I've had this breakthrough that I'm talking about right now, I would go to a conference and switch from artist into business mode. And from that business mode mindset, there was a level of feeling of competition. I wanted to stand out. I wanted to meet the people that were on the faculty list that I thought could advance my career. I wanted to meet the right people. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to make sure that I put my best foot forward, but that there was a expectation that when I paid my money to go to these conferences, certain things were going to happen that were going to be cues that I was well on my way to success. Okay, so, and I would always go to these conferences, and I can tell you, usually the overall vibe that I would get there and when I would leave was one of disappointment, because I didn't meet the right people or wasn't noticed enough. There was always a feeling of disappointment, disenchantment with the experience. I would have highlight moments and I would be excited about those, but there would be that feeling of it wasn't what I expected. I didn't get out of it what I was hoping. Okay. So this time I could start feeling, as I was working on the website, of course, and focusing more on my business aspect, the tension was starting to build. I'm getting ready to go back into the part that it's sink or swim kind of. You're being kind of, as a creative person, bombarded with what doesn't work, what they don't want to see, you know, critiques. You're being told basically what's wrong with your work, what isn't strong enough about your work. It's not for the faint of heart, I'll tell you that much. And I knew this is what I was getting ready to go into. And I haven't done this in a while. So I was like, I could start feeling the tension. And I suddenly had the epiphany that I didn't want to be in this business if this is how it was going to be the whole time. If I couldn't enjoy the whole thing, meaning creating the product, the books, and then selling the product, then I might as well just be a hobbyist creator and do the job that I'm doing right now for the rest of my life, which I'd be perfectly happy to do, working from home, so that I can have my creativity for my enjoyment. Because the business part, when it's approached the wrong way, is so tense and uncomfortable. It kills the fun part. Mm-hmm. So it became such a high contrast, because creating for 5 years and in my bliss to switching over to the business side, I went, whoa. No, I'm not going to change the business. The business is the business. The only thing I can change is my perspective and how I label this. Just like I'm on a vacation, a creative vacation instead of a creative slump, I am going to go into this just to connect with people with no expectation. I trust that I'm going to have a fabulous time. I've let my higher self know I'm going to connect. And somehow this conference is going to be another breadcrumb on the path to getting this book published. I just don't know how. I'm not going to try to define that. So I go in, and I'm just going to give one example and then summarize it as fast as I can. The first night that I go was, I had gotten my portfolio together. I'd gotten all my promotional materials together for this one event. It's Friday night is Illustrators Day, was all day, which I didn't participate in. But Friday night, I was told I could bring my portfolio and put it out, and there was a reception. So Friday night, when I go in to the reception, nobody knows what I'm talking about. All the portfolios are already out on all the table space, and I'm basically being told there's nowhere to put any of this stuff for me. The old Amy would have immediately, I spent all this money on getting this all in my head. I spent all this money getting all this together, and nobody even knows what's going on. Oh my God, this is a total waste of my time. I'm so upset. My feelings are hurt. But instead I went, oh, okay, it'll work itself out. Because I was already in such a mindset. I'm just here to have a good time. I start talking to one of the attendees, and I can see people moving frantically back and forth near me, in and out of this room. And they're talking to each other. They're trying to set something up. And I offer to help. I volunteer. And I'm like, I'm not an official volunteer, but what do you all need help? And I'm just standing here. And the lady's like, can you go clean these tables off in this reception room? And I go and I'm cleaning them off. She's like, those are for the portfolios. So not only did I get to put all my materials out, but because I volunteered to help clean the tables. I got to pick the first spot. So I got the prime spot in the room to put my stuff out. Perfect example. If I had gotten all negative and gotten my feelings hurt and hadn't just trusted, then that I would not have been open to that information when it happened and gotten that prime spot. So this set the tone for the rest of the conference. I ended up by the end of the conference magically connecting. And I mean, it wasn't forced. It wasn't like I went up to them because I knew they were a speaker and I interjected myself into a conversation. I wasn't even looking at people's name tags. I was addressing everyone. And there were several agents I was talking to. I didn't even know they were literary agents. And we hit it off, and they were asking me about my work in a very natural way and were enjoying my responses. And then I'd find out they were an agent or a publisher, and I was like, oh, great. And it was awesome. So by the end of the conference,
that's really cool. So rather than approaching people because you already know like who they are and what they can do for you, it's you approaching.
Here is the key for all business people, artists, whatever you do, to be truly successful. You must trust that you are the physical, incarnated being down here, and your higher self is your GPS. You plug in your destination. I want to be a rock star author, illustrator. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a dancer or whatever it is. Go ahead and pick it. It's your GPS. Plug in whatever address you want. And then you let your higher self get you there the fastest, quickest, easiest way, because your eternal GPS knows the route to the best one. When I first got my real GPS for my car, I remember going, I don't trust, I'm going to just plug something in and go drive to another state, and I'm going to magically show up somewhere I've never been before, right? Sure. And I would bring printouts of Google Map directions because I trusted that more. But after using my GPS enough and realizing it didn't land me, halfway across the map, that it actually got me most of the time to the destinations I plugged in. I blindly trust it now to the point, honestly, I use it to go to places I've been a million times just because it's fun to watch that little line. I don't have to think. Your higher self, it's the same thing. It's like your higher self is this high-tech GPS, and you're over here pulling out the dusty, outdated road map to try to figure things out. How insane is that? And maybe some of the viewers are going to be like, what is she talking about? But you know exactly what I'm saying. And I know a lot of them are not saying, what is she talking about? Basically.
So would you say that the roadmap in that analogy is pretty much everyone else's opinion about what you should do? You are putting more clout most of the time. That's what's even more insane. You're not even looking at your dusty old roadmap. You're looking at theirs that they're trying to shove you in their face about your destination. Like, no, this is the route I think you should go. And so this is where it gets all really crazy and insane. Just know and hold your intention and follow. And here's the other big key to this, though. You're not going to know how it's going to happen, how you're going to arrive, when you're going to arrive. What are the details in between? What are the sightseeing points? Just sit back and enjoy the ride. Okay? Even though you're the one driving, you're not the navigator. And artistically, magical things start to happen when you hold this mindset, because it really frees you creatively to be that innocent child, to tap in, to have fun, and to play. You're releasing yourself from all of that planning that you in the end suck at doing anyway. You suck at it. You are going to screw it up almost every single time. You're going to take detours. You're going to go in reverse. You're going to go everywhere but to that destination most of the time. You're going to make it way more complicated than it needs to be. So, and it's such a relief. Like after the conference, I have to say, this is the first time I've proven myself to this in correlation with my dream is how to approach this side of it.
because we all want to be successful, especially when the subject of money comes up. That's a heavily charged thing. We need lots of it in order to operate in this reality that we're in. But even soften that idea. You don't need half as much as you think you do. You've proven that to yourself, Jordan. You know, in your travels, look at what you accomplished and all the different things that you experienced, you know. I really admire that, actually. So we all have our ways of proving these principles, but creatively, this is more important than me being the best writer or the best illustrator. Is we all have a creative vision that's unique to us. It's like our blueprint. It's in our DNA. It's not about being the most, you know, articulated or the most sophisticated artist. It's about learning your craft to enough that you can express what's kind of trying to channel through you, but then to be able to navigate these waters and to be able to balance, your energy and create from the heart. And if you want to create from the heart and also make money at it, I do. I am not afraid to admit that. I can't imagine a more blissful life experience than only writing and illustrating my work and it affecting and teaching teenagers, self-empowerment, all this stuff we're talking about. But I've weaved it into this story. What an amazing, it's like a purpose for myself that I've translated for others to find their purpose. It's beautiful, you know, and the intention is pure. It's releasing the expectation of how it's going to happen. And I no longer attach a dollar sign to prosperity. I no longer say, well, I've got to make such and such money or be a New York Times bestseller or all this other stuff. I feel like prosperity is being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it. That's another one from Bashar. That is like beautiful, because then it's not just money that you're waiting around for. People might offer you free plane tickets or, bring you over a home cooked meal. There's prosperity all around you if you would also change your label of what that means. And as artists, the more you can change your inner beliefs and labels about your art, man, the more you're going to expand for sure.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like what you're saying is the importance of gratitude through the process of where you're
yes.
And
appreciation. My friend Jennifer, she lives in Florida. Her and I have been best friends since my years in Tallahassee when I was in college. And my friend Michelle are tuning in tonight, and she's a newer friend, very high frequency friend, very in alignment. So it's exciting that they're both tuning in, two of my friends that wanted to listen tonight. Jennifer and I actually kind of went through this slump together. And one day we were on the phone telling each other our negative stories. And all of a sudden it was like both of us realized, what are we doing? And I put on Abraham Hicks because we love Abraham Hicks and listening to her. She wrote Frequency. And suddenly both of us got the momentum going in the opposite direction, but we partnered up and we were inspiring each other every single day to do this. And same thing with my friend Michelle. These are two very conscious girlfriends that I hold near and dear for this very reason, because I can be real with them when I'm in my negative moments, because that happens, but also we help each other stay in alignment. You know, when one is kind of sinking a little bit, the other one will be there to kind of lift the other up. And I think that is so important. When you can keep your energy aligned, everything else in your life flows so much easier, especially your art, because art is energy and you're channeling. Every great artist will tell you, I didn't paint that painting. That painting came through me. I didn't write that book. That book came through me. Because literally it is so humbling when you channel, you know, this is not something I just orchestrate. It's like a collaboration, you know?
Mm.
And I'm sure you have felt this many times on your journey as well. You're collaborating with divine intelligence.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I've drummed, I get into like this drumming trance. When I dance, I get into a dancing trance.
Oh, absolutely.
It's all that flow, right? It's that flow state.
Yes.
And I think that's really that's the sense of what you're getting at here, is the importance of tapping into that.
It is, and I think you're making a good point too, is having that balance of, you know, we're sitting at the computer, even at the drafting board, I'm at my, you know, I'm typing on my laptop, to be able to switch from these very heavily mental activities to the dancing, you said, the drumming, music, you know, being able to use your body physically. And then, of course, meditation and getting really, whatever you need to do to really get in touch with the spiritual aspect of yourself. And if you can kind of hit all those marks each day, you're going to feel yourself flowing a lot easier every single day, where you're not getting stuck as much. Because we need all of that stimulation in order to be balanced. If I'm sitting and creating and writing all day, I'm going to get a crink in my neck. I'm going to start not feeling all that good. As if I do some writing and then I get up and I go to the gym and I go work out, and then I take some time in my meditation room and I look at my vision board and I light a candle and I connect with my inner core. And I do these cycles throughout the day, and I find it very beneficial to my own sense of well-being. Absolutely.
So obviously you've been working on your book lately.
Yeah. I just came off of my vacation, actually, from all of that work. Yes.
Right. Is there anything else that you do? I know you also do the MMA stuff.
Yeah, the illustration that goes with that.
Oh, there's an illustration that goes with that?
Oh yeah, this book, I don't want to give the title out because it's all under wraps until I'm published. I can't show any of the art on Facebook, unfortunately. I'll send it to you in a private message though. I worked on this monster illustration. It is literally my crowning glory. So I write this really edgy, really just fantastic manuscript. I am so proud of this work. I call it my masterpiece. And I've always been really hard on myself creatively, so it's a lot for me to say that, but I really mean it. And it's a masterpiece on so many different levels for me personally. So here I create this incredible, you know, story. And I have been working on this illustration. I've never worked on an illustration this long. 8 or 9 months. It's huge. It's poster size. And it's in my style. It's in black and white. And it's a sample to send with the book, because I'm hoping what I envision having eventually, or maybe all right up front. But this is where I release expectations. I just know what my vision is. I don't know how it's going to happen. I want to have several like core illustrations like the one that I've already done. And then I want to have a dictionary at the back of the book, because there's a lot of world building. It's science fiction with appendix illustrations. So there's like a dictionary with all of these illustrations at the back of the novel. And I just can completely see this in my head. But, you know, I also want to have a soundtrack of electronic music that goes with the book. I have a producer in mind, and I'm hoping when I get an agent, I can convince them to pitch this to the producer. But I want to have one song created to go with each chapter of the book. There's 24 chapters, so there'd be 24 tracks on the soundtrack. But actually, electronic music is woven into the plot of the story, so it could very well happen, and it would be really exciting if it did. So I think at least with the ebook craze, it may not be such a far-fetched idea at this point. I came up with this idea like 10 years ago. So it was way out there when I first envisioned it, but I'm seeing with technology, the possibilities, you know?
Wow, I can so see that too, with like merging music video with your art and with the story. So it's like creating movies. It's kind of like like that Michael Jackson movie where it was basically like his CD in movie form, or like Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Oh, neat. Yeah. This has actually been done before, soundtracks. I did a lot of research on it when I really became invested in the idea, and I was writing the music into the story, into the plot. I was surprised. I found some stuff, you know, but the technology wasn't there yet, so it was really expensive to do. And with publishers, that's always the bottom line. That's all the stuff you have to face when you go to the conferences, you know. But that was the other beautiful thing. I want to bring it back to the creative side. What was so beautiful is to be able to have this vision that I have. And for the first time, I went to a conference and I was not discouraged by some of the most discouraging news that they give you. And it was like I was bulletproof. I literally thought to myself, well, if that's what I decide to believe, then that's what's going to happen. Sure. Yeah, you're right. That would be hard. Good thing I don't really believe that's how it's going to be for me.
Wow.
And that isn't me being arrogant, because there was a long time that I really bought in to the publishing world and how tough it is and competitive. And that is all true. But when you start learning some of these things that I've been talking about tonight, you're not as intimidated by any of that, because you understand you've got the power. And if you can keep yourself aligned, the most magical things are going to be aligned for you that the common person that does not know how to use their energy doesn't have access to. It's like a hit or miss, you know? And that's the perspective of people saying how hard it is. Yes. Coming with that to the table, with all of your fears and all of your doubts and all of the beliefs that how hard this is going to be and how competitive it is and you're not good enough. Yes, it's going to be almost impossible for you. With that being the belief system that you're holding, you are going to align with things that are going to prove that to you time and time again. I refuse to be involved in the bitter, naysaying part of publishing, because it's such a beautiful business. And I see hope and excitement. And at this conference, I saw all of the faculty deeply loved what they're doing. And because I wasn't afraid, I was able to hear some of the realistic things they were saying, but I had no fear about it. So it was such a different experience. There were times at conferences, Jordan, I would literally get sick in my stomach because they are telling you things that are making it feel so impossible. You almost feel like, I'm never going to accomplish this. And so you end up actually feeling very disempowered when you leave, not at the fault of anyone, but your own perspective. So that's what I realized. This whole,
yeah, so it's like it's your willingness to believe all that.
If you are going to buy into all of that and only see that, then it really is hopeless. You've got to have that almost childlike, you know, the little kid that's like, I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going to the moon. I'm going to be the president of the United States. I'm going to be a rock star. And they have absolutely no filter or feeling that they can't accomplish that until they start getting told, usually by their parents and sometimes by their teachers.
I felt
that they're not going to accomplish it, and then they start believing that.
I felt you channeling destiny then.
Oh, my daughter has taught me so many things. Oh my goodness. We will definitely be covering that as well. I'm sure in other videos. She is unbelievable. She is 13 and absolutely teaches me something new every day about myself. She is definitely wise beyond her years, which I don't think should surprise me all that much.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say, you know, what you were just talking about reminded me. Not sure if you've seen it. You see Steve Jobs' like YouTube video where he's basically being interviewed, and he says, he basically harps on the importance
of what?
Of passion.
He harps on the importance of what? Compassion.
Passion, like having passion.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so he basically says that you need to have passion for what you're doing, or else, you know.
Oh, yes. Oh,
you're
yeah.
gonna stop. You're never going to keep going. And I think that
Yes.
having passion for what you're doing is what separates people who believe those, you know, negative things, and probably the people who are creating those realities where, you know, they're basically pointing out those realities of people
Absolutely.
that failed. And it's basically those who haven't had the determination and the passion in order to push them and propel them forward past the whatever hurdles or challenges were in their way.
Yeah, you definitely, as an artist, if you're doing this just to make for the fame or to make the quick buck, you're in for a very rude awakening most of the time. You definitely have got to love something creative that you're wanting to make your mark and really become successful at. Is going to take a huge amount of passion and dedication of time. That's another reason I can feel my success is really coming, is I really have put my time in. Jennifer can attest to this because she read my very first manuscript, and I have been working towards this goal. I read this book. It's called The Artist's Way.
Oh my God, I was so going to mention that book at some point in this interview.
By Julia Cameron. This is the book that actually changed my life. I was 20 years old. I was living in Tallahassee Community College when the Columbine thing happened. And that is when I went, what in the hell is the matter with kids now? They're bringing machine guns to school and plotting deaths, mass scale murder. We used to bring a fist to the playground and clock each other a good one and get a fat lip and you were done. What is going on? And I realized in that moment I wanted to write for young people, and I wanted to write stories that taught them their own power, spiritual power, because kids that are in their spiritual power are not going to be plotting these types of events. Well, then like a month or two later, after I claimed this intention of what I want to write and for who and why, my husband at the time, well, he was my fiance at the time, his mother is the one, she came to visit her. It's when I first met her. She just met me. She hands me this book. It's a 12-week course, and it basically teaches you week by week to uncover all of the naysayers in your life that have told you that you can't accomplish your dreams. What are your dreams and why? And to get you in that mode of creativity. And that book is really what started me on my journey. I'm 40, and I have been writing and learning. I could not even illustrate. I could not draw very well. When I went to art school, I was one of the worst in my school. I went to the Atlanta College of Art, and by sheer passion and determination, I left as the only published author. And that did not come easy for me. The drawing still is very challenging for me in comparison to the writing, but I do it because I love it. But if I wasn't passionate, or I thought I was going to be, you know, some super sensation overnight, I would have given up a long time ago. You got to show up full time. And I do it first because it feels good. Like I said in my blog video, I'd be doing this anyway. I'd be doing this anyway, or I could sit over on my couch and keep watching, you know, Sons of Anarchy type series. That's nice to take a break. But if that was my life, not trying to knock anybody, but you're really missing out. There's so much more. We all have that creative vein of gold to mine. And if you can just do it because it feels good, it's like a meditation. It's like part of my day. I go to the gym to work out. Nobody's paying me to do that. I'm not going to be a superstar to do that. I do it because it feels good and I like being in shape. I go dancing, not because I'm going to be a professional dancer. I go dance to be in the moment because it feels good. If you can apply that concept even to your business, even to your creativity, you free all that resistance, and then the floodgates open. The universe literally swoops in to support that dream. But that's where we all experience so much slowing down of our help, is that we put our dream or your business or whatever it is in this special little category that says money on it, money to survive. And it puts all this tension. So I highly suggest have a job that you make money to make your bills. whatever it is, you know, so that I do that so that I can have the freedom to have this philosophy. But if you're starving and eating ramen noodles with Tabasco sauce every night, it's a little hard to ignore the fact that there's lack in your life. It's like you're shooting yourself in the foot almost, you know?
Mm.
So I think that's another important thing too, is do whatever you have to do to generate comfort, to free yourself of that stress of the money. Then I believe I'm getting myself into such a high state, I will be able to move into just doing my art for money. But I'm really enjoying where I'm at right now. So until the books take over, I'm perfectly content, which is a really nice thing to be able to say.
Creating that foundational layer where
I finally gotten
like
myself.
Supported.
It feels like what?
You feel like you're supported rather than
yes.
Feel like
I feel
something in order to support yourself.
I feel so supported. It is what has allowed me to truly have faith in my higher self, my eternal GPS, divine intelligence, creative source energy, however you want to put it, God, whatever label works for you works for me. It's the more you apply it. This is like homework. The conference was my homework. I told myself, okay, you're in a really high frequency. And I prepared myself vibrationally before the conference, days before. I started watching those Abraham Hicks videos like all day. I immersed myself. I did not engage in any negative conversations. If I found myself having a negative thought, I took it that seriously. Like it was as important as having my website up, even more important. Was preparing myself, my frequency and of what I was going to receive. And then on the way down to the conference on Friday night, instead of listening to music, which is what I usually do, I had a little powwow with my higher self in the car and said, okay, this is it. This is what I want to have happen. Plugging it in. And now I believe it and I trust it. So that's why when I walked in and there was no room, I said, well, that wasn't in my best interest right now. And that's why it didn't bother me. I'm not supposed to put my stuff out right now. I don't know why. Maybe somebody's going to spill their wine on it. Maybe somebody's going to completely rip my portfolio apart and tell me it's horrible and it's going to make me feel so bad. I don't know what the reason is. It's not up for me to know. But if I really thought I was missing something, meaning my higher self wasn't guiding me, I wasn't trusting the situation, I would have had a negative reaction. It's all about having faith. Now, I will say after the conference, my faith has grown. And that is the beauty of taking these moments in your life where you can apply these principles, see that they work. And now it's not a belief, it's a knowing. It's even deeper than a belief. It's almost like something that's going to be automatic now. I have literally had some crazy negative things thrown at me this week. People cut me off in traffic. I'm like, wow, I'm glad I'm not, normally I would have screamed at them, in my car, road rage. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad I'm not as rushed as you are. Somebody says something rude to me, I laugh. Completely different, where I was so reacting negatively before, if something negative happened, I'd have a negative reaction. I'm in such a high state right now that literally nothing is knocking me off balance, which is definitely a newer level for me. I'm not used to it being this easy. It's usually work. And that's me being 100% real. It's usually work for me to stay in alignment. And I do it, but I've been doing it long enough now that I've graduated to the next level for me. And it feels really good. I'm so excited about the things to come now.
Yeah.
That's a really good feeling. Like I can tell by the way that I feel more great things are coming that are going to blow away even the great things that have already happened. So yeah.
I feel the momentum, Amy. I really do.
Me too. I'm really swept up in it right now. It's like this, and that's what I'm maybe want to close, because I'm looking at the time, maybe want to close this conversation with tonight, is always know that when you are in what I want to call the valley, that you are in your creative vacation, you're literally simmering in this feeling that when you get the momentum going back the other way, it's like pulling a rubber band back and releasing it. It propels you even further ahead. So again, enjoy those valleys, because it means the next peak you hit is going to be higher than the one you've already experienced. So it's really something to look forward to and get excited about. It's really part of the process. Think about it like this. If you were always at the top of the roller coaster and you never dropped all the way down, there would be no thrill in the ride. Life is just like that. When you are in the valley and then you're going chink, 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 the anticipation's building, you're a little scared, you don't know what's going to go on. And then boom, you go back down, you go all the way up the top. You're like, oh, it's so exhilarating. And then you know, the G-force hits you when you go back down. That's exactly what the artistic and life journey is. Living your life creatively. That's what the artist way is about. And if you can start enjoying all aspects of it as one thing, and quit trying to say, oh, I just like that part. Just enjoy the whole thing, because it all works together beautifully if you don't question it and fret over it.
Wow. I really, really appreciate you sharing your perspective and
Thank you.
your honesty and your energy and your excitement and passion for where you're going in life. It really is something that is palpable. And I know that the more that you keep moving forward, the faster you're going to go.
Absolutely. And we'll definitely, let's, you know, we'll tune in again. Maybe I can brainstorm some topics as well. And I definitely like to start doing this with you maybe once a month. It would be really fun.
I would love, love, love to have you back on. Definitely.
Okay, awesome. And I just want to thank all of the listeners as well, and to invite them. Please come and check out my website at www.amy-blackford.com. And Blackford is spelled just like it sounds, Blackford. And thank you for listening to me and my story. And I hope something that I said tonight really resonates and helps you on your own artistic journey. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you soon. Peace.